When our daughter was 5, George offered to throw me another wedding. But the wedding dress he and our daughter designed together awkwardly got stuck at my waist. Until my sister Tiffany, back from abroad, showed up. She fit into the dress perfectly. As I watched Tiffany looking like a fairy tale princess, I suddenly didn't feel like keeping this relationship going. My daughter was all grown up, and I was still fantasizing about being a bride. I mean, isn't that kind of embarrassing? That waist on the dress is so small, I was wondering if she could even squeeze into it. The two girls laughed together, totally ignoring the fact that I was technically the owner of the place. Honestly, I didn't have much of a reaction. I just walked right past the dress without a glance. Over the years, I've gotten used to it. When I first married George, his employees still respected me. But after seeing how he treated me, they slowly started to look right through me. If she hadn't been pregnant, George wouldn't have married her. Stealing a man from her own sister, what kind of person does that make her? You hear enough nasty talk, and it starts to sound like music. Snapping back to reality, I took a good look at the dress. George is a designer with plenty of bridal shops to his name. He claimed this dress was his masterpiece. 6 months ago, he suggested renewing our vows and designing a dress for me himself. I thought that was great, finally, some recognition for all my years of effort. When our daughter Mandy found out, she eagerly joined in. The little bunny embroidered on the hem, surrounded by white diamonds, was definitely Mandy's handiwork. Seeing their creativity, I felt an overwhelming happiness. All those withered parts of our past seemed revived by this reign of love. Awkwardly, though, the dress got stuck at my waist and wouldn't budge. I felt a bit ashamed. If I'd known, I wouldn't have finished Mandy's leftovers last night. I tried to call for help. After waiting forever, that brat who always talked back finally strolled over. She saw my predicament and dramatically covered her mouth. "You better not rip the dress," she teased. I blushed, asking her for help. She shrugged like there was nothing she could do. "Seems like the zipper was jammed." I couldn't take it off or pull it up any further. I looked at her for help. She finally stepped forward, yanking out a few strands of my hair in the process. Suddenly, with one rough pull, the stitches on the back tore, leaving me exposed. She sneered, "Told you not to rip it." The fragile curtain came down right then. Panicking, I turned to cover myself. Unbeknownst to me, George and my daughter were already waiting outside, along with my sister Tiffany. Laughing with them as she had just returned from studying abroad 3 years ago, they took in my humiliating state. George faced me with his usual frown. My daughter pouted and snuggled into Tiffany's embrace. "Auntie, Mommy's so embarrassing," my daughter said, her innocent words searing my face. Even though it's not the first time, it felt different in front of Tiffany. I clung to the dress, refusing to let it drop. The heavy feeling turned into a tidal wave, burying me and making it hard to breathe. Tiffany consoled Mandy, then handed her back to George before approaching me. She pulled the curtain back up and handed me my clothes. "Lisa, long time no see," she greeted. I took my clothes, noticing she was still as proud as ever, just slightly nodding at me without speaking. She quickly fixed the dress. Seeing the approval in George's eyes reminded me. Apparently, Tiffany studied design abroad too. The store employees flattered her endlessly. "Tiffany is finally back, the perfect pair, a domestic design industry star and a rising overseas talent," they gushed. George didn't stop them from talking, his smile widening. Mandy suddenly suggested, "That dress would look great on Auntie, should she try it on?" People around encouraged it. Tiffany gave me a glance. "I don't know, it is Lisa's," she said. Before I could react, George remarked nonchalantly, "It's just a wedding dress. Its value is in the right wearer. Mandy and I hope it finds a fitting match." I stood there, color drained from my face. Tiffany reluctantly changed into it. When she stepped out, everyone applauded. The perfectly fitting waistline left me stunned. George was visibly amazed. Mandy's mouth hung wide open. I felt nothing, just a blank space inside me. Looking at the bunny on the dress hem, I suddenly remembered George's nickname for Tiffany back when they were together, that same bunny. Had their past even touched my daughter, the one I carried for 10 months? So, there were no spring rains, just storms chasing me all along. On the way back, Tiffany instinctively moved to sit in the passenger seat. I awkwardly stood behind her. She apologized with a laugh, sorry, force of habit. George frowned, there's nothing to be sorry about, she needs to sit back here with Mandy. Tiffany smoothly sat up front. At Mom and Dad's place, they excitedly welcomed Tiffany in, not sparing me even a glance. George effortlessly fetched her luggage from the trunk. Seeing him, Mom invited him to stay for dinner with a fawning smile. Finally, George looked at me. I shook my head slightly. Thankfully, he refused. Mom glared at me before rushing inside to dote on Tiffany. On the way home, I couldn't stop myself from asking, when did you find out she was coming back? George pressed his lips together. 6 months ago, he replied. When he suggested renewing our vows. Then can I ask why I couldn't fit into the dress? George unexplainably got annoyed. Isn't that your problem, Lisa? Since marrying me, you've let yourself go. I've told you, if Mandy can't finish something, just toss it. You insist on eating it and let yourself go. Do you blame me for that? Mandy's at that age where she's figuring out her values, so I'm teaching her not to waste anything and to cherish every little bit. That's why I set an example every time. I don't want her to grow up spoiled and wasteful. George's disgust was written all over his face, and I heard our daughter's little voice from the back seat. Mom's the stingiest, she said. Auntie said Mandy's a princess, and princesses shouldn't eat too much. Gotta stay in shape. Tiffany talking about staying fit with a 5-year-old, doesn't she realize how ridiculous that is? George blames everything on me, yet he can't admit he remembers Tiffany's dress size. That wedding dress seemed to be made for her. So why not do it above board? Soon enough, I found out why. Back home, George went for a shower, and Mandy headed to her room. His phone lay there carelessly. Messages started popping up. I picked it up on an impulse. The password hadn't changed, so I unlocked it easily. The texts were from his old buddy. So, George, how's it feel having your first love back? Heard about today at your shop. You're really not worried your wife's gonna get jealous, huh? Scrolling up, the messages went back over 6 months. George, Tiffany's coming back. Buddy, what are you gonna do? George, not sure, but I feel like I owe her a wedding. Buddy, you should just divorce and get back with her, make everyone comfortable. George, no way, that'd be bad for her reputation. People would say she stole her sister's husband. George, I'll come up with a way to let her wear the wedding dress I designed. Reading this, my hands started to tremble. It took a lot to mark the messages as unread and put the phone back. I sat on the couch, staring at the home I'd known for 5 years, feeling utterly drained. So this was his plan, to shatter my pride. In the chat, his buddy asked him what about me. George said, this is my fault, something I owe them. But George, I never owed you anything. My parents didn't like me, and I knew it. I always thought it was because they preferred boys, so they never wanted me. But that wasn't it. Tiffany got all the pretty dresses and did whatever hobbies she liked. Meanwhile, because our family was only just getting by, the good stuff went to Tiffany. I wore her hand-me-downs. I was in love with one of her white dresses. When she outgrew it, I thought I'd finally have it. Instead, she casually mentioned to Mom that the stray dog downstairs needed a dress, and Mom tore it up for the dog. The things I loved, she'd rather give to a dog than me. Because of this, I wasn't popular at school. During the worst times, bullying was a daily thing. I was an easy target. Teachers didn't like me, and my parents never took my side. My golden girl sister would just walk on by as I got picked on. My fringe status fueled the bully's nastiness. One time, George, 2 grades ahead, showed up when they dragged me into the bathroom. He chased them off and offered his hand. It was the first time I thought there might be a savior in the world. Until my sister brought him home, I thought the savior could be for anyone but me. They were talking marriage when she decided to study abroad. But our family didn't have the money. Though with Tiffany's looks, someone would pay. So they broke up, and George, maybe out of resignation, settled for me. When I got pregnant, we got married in haste. No wedding, no flowers, and on the day we got the marriage license, he flew out for a competition. Until Mandy was born, he barely spent any time at home. "Mom, did you wash my dress? Auntie said she'd take me to the amusement park tomorrow, and I wanna wear that dress." Mandy's call pulled me back to reality. I pulled her close, testing the waters. If Mommy wanted to take Mandy away, would you come with me? Mandy reacted strongly, her eyes wary. "This is my home, I'm not going anywhere." I tried explaining that I could give her a home, too. She just laughed, a disdain on her face that didn't belong to a 5-year-old. "This is Mandy's home, and Daddy's home, but not Mommy's home. If you want to leave, just go." "Why take me with you?" I felt a wrench in my heart. The home I poured myself into wasn't mine to anyone else. "Why? Don't you want to be with Mommy?" Mandy shook her head. "No." I forced a sad smile. "Not done yet," she added. "If you go, can Auntie move in? Grandma said you've always been the cuckoo stealing other people's nests. Auntie's better than you in every way. Me and Daddy both like Auntie. Mandy's only 5, and her time with Tiffany was just on video calls." I wonder how George fed her these ideas. Watching the scorn in my daughter's eyes, I gave up on taking her with me. If she loves her aunt so much, let her have her. The next morning, Mandy threw a fit for not getting her dress. I helplessly shrugged. "If you love Auntie so much, let her wash your clothes." George picked up Mandy, disapproving. "It's just a kid's joke and you take it seriously? Bickering with a kid, are you out of your mind?" So he heard us yesterday but chose to stay quiet. Silence can mean assent. I just couldn't care, and continued eating my breakfast. This was the first time I ignored Mandy's needs. Also, the first time I had a relaxed breakfast. Usually, after breakfast, I'd prepare George's briefcase, iron his suit jacket, and coordinate his ties. If Mandy wouldn't eat, I'd feed her patiently. By the time I'd done everything, it was time to take her to preschool. It's been so long since I've had a hot breakfast. A warm glass of milk felt so comforting. Mandy fussed more without my response. She struggled in George's arms, messing up his styled hair. I saw George frown subtly. Then he put Mandy down, letting her wail on the floor. I smirked coldly to myself. It seemed like our daughter meant nothing to him compared to his first love. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Tiffany. She picked up the baby, cooing softly. She pulled a new princess dress out of her bag. Mandy instantly stopped crying and happily put it on. Tiffany beamed at her. "Mandy looked great. Like a little princess. But she wasn't anything like you when you were young." She stared at me with meaning. "I don't want to be like her at all," Mandy said, putting her hands on her hips, clearly upset. "Dad said she was an ugly duckling when she was my age. She had to wear old clothes no one else wanted. Not elegant at all. Dad told me not to be like her." Memories of being bullied, looked down upon, and laughed at during my school years flooded back. George knew how much those events still affected me. Yet he still shamelessly manipulated a child to attack her mother with the past. My face grew darker. George cleared his throat, pretending to scold her. "Don't talk nonsense." Mandy pouted, burying her face in Tiffany's arms, saying nothing further. Just before heading out the door, Tiffany remembered me. "You never liked going to amusement parks. You don't mind if we go, right? I composed myself, wiping my mouth expressionlessly. I don't mind. Since childhood, when my parents took Tiffany to the amusement park without me, leaving me with nothing but a beating as a reminder, I haven't liked that place at all. After the three of them left, I printed out the drafted divorce agreement. That evening, when George returned and saw the divorce papers on the coffee table, he froze. It took him a long time before he stepped forward to pick them up. His hands were still the same, long and elegant fingers, just like when they pulled me up from a wrecked life. But now, those hands held the evidence of our impending separation. After reading it, he tossed it aside, just like he discarded my heart. Lisa, stop it. Can you really leave me? He said with sarcasm and contempt. Did you forget? I was still dating your sister when you got into my bed. Can you really bear to divorce me? I signed the papers without expression. Tiffany's back, so I'm stepping aside. It's what you wanted, right? So no one can say she seduced her brother-in-law, ruining her reputation. For the first time, I met George's eyes without backing down. He showed no regret, just anger. Did you go through my phone? He advanced, eyes seeming to want to tear me apart. Lisa, how can you be so despicable? From then till now, you're still like a rat in the gutter, always so undignified. I didn't bother to defend myself, I just wanted to end this quickly. You're right about everything. Just sign. Seeing me like this, George angrily threw the pen I handed him. The noise woke our sleeping daughter. She looked around in confusion and asked George what was happening. I answered before him. Mom and Dad are getting a divorce. The aunt you like can move in and live with you now. Mandy froze for a moment, then gave a big smile. Her tiny feet bouncing on the sofa, face full of excitement. Yay! Mom's finally leaving. If the pretty aunt picks me up from preschool, all the other kids will definitely be jealous of me. George's face turned sour. I chuckled to myself. This was all his fault. Molly's feelings for me, her mother, were less than those she had for an aunt she hadn't seen in 3 years. What was he trying to prove now? Hurry up and sign. The house, the car, the kid, all the shops under your name, I don't want any of it. Just give me the joint savings. Under my gaze, George finally gave in. He left, saying we'd talk later, and fled. I wasn't in a hurry. I returned to the room to pack. Mandy sat in the living room alone, complaining about being sticky and wanting a bath. I didn't respond. For this kind of thing, she should look for her aunt now. Over the years, I'd earned quite a bit drawing illustrations for publishers. With my things packed, I checked into a suite at a 5-star hotel. I slept in peace, waking naturally past 10 the next day. No more midnight wake-ups to cover the kid with a blanket, no early mornings to make breakfast, it was bliss. Turning on my phone, countless messages flooded in. My mom's call came right after. Lisa, what kind of mother are you? Do you know Mandy hurt her head? Get to the hospital now. She hung up after angrily delivering the message. But I'd left Mandy with George's assistant. My heart softens when it comes to my own child. I quickly got ready and rushed to the hospital. Tiffany was there with her. Standing at the doorway, I listened to what was happening inside. I'm sorry, Mandy. It's all Auntie's fault for not knowing how to take care of you, Tiffany apologized for Mandy's head injury. Mandy gently comforted her. It's not Auntie's fault. Dad said Auntie's hands are for designing beautiful clothes, not taking care of people. My mom's the one supposed to take care of us. When Mom comes, I'll ask Dad to scold her. It's her fault for not taking care of me, making Auntie sad. Tiffany lightly stroked her head. You're such a good girl, Mandy. I smirked inwardly, pushing the door open. Seeing me, Mandy sneered and turned her head away. Tiffany gave me a somewhat blaming look. Adult stuff shouldn't involve children, Lisa. You're not a qualified mother. I glanced at Mandy, she was fine, no major problem. I didn't say much and turned to leave. Mom and Dad caught me in the hospital corridor, starting a scene. Have you no conscience? Leaving your daughter to fool around, do you want any dignity? Get in there and take care of your daughter. Do you expect Tiffany to handle your kid? Unbelievable. Dad shook his head, lamenting our misfortune. Ignoring their scolding and the strange looks from others, I headed straight up. Am I really your child? I asked my parents. Why won't you love me? Why does no one love me? There was no answer. I chose to leave, leaving my mom's ugly words behind me. As I was nearing the hospital entrance, George finally showed up. Frowning, he tried to grab my hand. I dodged, and his hand awkwardly hung in the air. Finally, he said sheepishly. Maybe Mom and Dad went a bit too far, but you shouldn't have left Mandy alone. She's your daughter after all. I looked at him quietly. The person who once saved me from misery seemed to have soured. Now, as he watched my parents slander me, he chose to hide and observe. Then, once things calmed down, he'd come out to criticize me high and mighty. After the hospital, I barely saw George anymore. Every time I called about the divorce process, his assistant blocked me. I heard they took Mandy for a beach vacation. I ignored it, focusing on my plans to study abroad. Years ago, I wanted to continue my education, but George vetoed it. And with Mandy being young and needing me, I gave up. Now, it's time to plan for myself. That day, I suddenly got a call from Mom. She was anxious, asking me to come home urgently. I didn't understand, but I was curious about her intentions. I thought long and hard, then decided to go. They weren't home. Instead, they were at a hotel. Mom looked at me maliciously and sneered. Go see for yourself, and give up already. Someone as outstanding as George should belong to Tiffany. She's generous, letting you live a good life while you overstep your bounds. Now that Tiffany's back, why won't you leave? You've been a disgrace since you were a child. I've heard worse from my mom all my life. Today, she was actually holding back, so it didn't bother me. I walked straight to the door. The thick door couldn't mask the sounds of pleasure. Instinctively, I saw my daughter watching with curiosity. She was too young. She shouldn't see this. I wanted to cover her eyes and ears. I pleaded with my mom to take Mandy away. But she dodged my hands, eagerly saying she'd have a baby brother soon. Fine by me, whatever. I knocked on the door. George answered. He was shirtless, a towel haphazardly wrapped around his waist. Tiffany's lazy voice came from inside. Who is it? The air was filled with unspeakable scents. I quickly entered, blocking the others outside. Consider it the last thing I do for my daughter. George's initial look of shame and surprise quickly shifted. He glared at me with disgust. Learn to track people now? Tiffany, under the sheets, lay lazily. I looked at the cozy scene, amused. You're still not signing the divorce papers, even now? Hearing it wasn't me clinging, Tiffany's eyes flickered. I seized the moment. George, don't tell me you've fallen for me, that's why you can't sign. Tiffany is already like this with you. Do you want everyone saying she's a shameless mistress? Tiffany played along, immediately tearing up. It was my fault, for not holding on to you. I shouldn't have thought of you, knowing you're my brother-in-law, and yet doing things like this. It's all my fault, I'm shameless, I'd be better off dead. Normally so proud, Tiffany was now so vulnerable. Hearing this, George immediately comforted her with pity. He gazed at me for a long time, finally agreeing to the divorce. Once the cooling-off period was over, we got our divorce papers smoothly. Almost simultaneously, they got their marriage certificate. Tiffany excitedly clung to her new mom, not sparing me a glance. I approached, turning Mandy's little face towards me. Say goodbye to Mom. She looked back warily, refusing. I have a new mom now, you're not my mom. Looking into her strange and cold eyes, I suddenly felt at peace. I never understood why my daughter was so full of malice towards me. Turns out, in those nights George was secretly video chatting with Tiffany and Mandy. It all made sense. Her father's attitude towards me was a cue for her. Even if she was my own flesh and blood. But the strong paternal genes made her naturally detest me. As for George, he stared at me, expression complex. I didn't spare him a glance, turning to leave. A school overseas accepted me, a top 10 ranked psychology program. George probably felt guilty. Besides leaving me his savings, he gave me 5 stores. I sold them right away. They were in prime locations, so I made quite a bit of money. Because of this, Tiffany angrily confronted me. She was pregnant. Hormones turned her into an ungraceful grump. She accused me of being vulgar. Selling off George's dreams just like that. But what did it matter? Right then, I was busy with my overseas visa, so I couldn't care less about her. George called timely, worried for her unborn child. She immediately looked smug. I recalled when I was pregnant, even vomiting till I almost blacked out. George never showed a hint of concern. See, here's the difference. When you were pregnant, he'd often call me complaining, saying he hated seeing you so gloomy, she boasted. I couldn't help but ask. Why do you despise me so much? We're blood relatives, why can't you accept me? Hearing my question, she was stunned. Then burst into laughter. After she laughed her fill, she deigned to answer. Who likes an intruder? I was their only beloved one, why should I share? Besides, Mom and Dad both hated you. I got it. Just a preference against a second child. George hurriedly came to take her back. Before leaving, Mandy wasn't hostile like before. She cautiously asked if it still counted when I said I'd take her with me. Auntie changed. Now she only cares about the baby brother. When I get close, she says I'm going to hurt him. Dad doesn't listen to me either. Every time Auntie says that, Dad hits me. Even Grandma doesn't like me anymore. My mom never liked her to begin with. She just tolerated her for George's sake. Now, she got what she wanted, no need to pretend. I smiled at Mandy. You chose this path, no regrets. I never thought I'd see George alone again before I left the country. He stood outside my rental, smoking one cigarette after another. He kept watch there, saying nothing. He stood for days. I passed by him, ignoring him, until he stopped me. Tiffany had a miscarriage. Looking at him, no longer his confident self, I stayed silent. He irritably ruffled his hair, continuing to vent. The doctor said she had too many abortions, now she's unfit. I don't know what she did all those years abroad. Whenever I asked, she'd cry and I'd get irritated. Turns out she had many boyfriends, those old men were all married and wouldn't marry her, she had nowhere else to go, had to come back, couldn't even get her diploma. The goddess fallen to earth, it's a hard fall, understandable. But that wasn't my problem. I nodded to show I understood, and tried to leave, sidestepping him. He grabbed my arm. Now she's causing a stir at home, Mandy's indifferent, can you? No. His words got cut off by my refusal. George was shocked by my bluntness. His expression slipped. If it wasn't for you, she'd have never gone abroad. You owe us. You must pay back. I halted, turning to face him. George, I've never owed you anything. You and Tiffany have wronged me. Since I was little, my sister never liked me. When she brought back the guy I had a crush on, my dislike for her hit an all-time high. She noticed the momentary disappointment on my face. Still, I maintained my composure, keeping up boundaries as best I could. When she decided to go abroad, she played her cards and got involved with a rich kid, leaving her boyfriend feeling like a burden. That day, my sister, who had never smiled at me, showed me kindness for the first time. She gave me the bird's nest soup that she usually kept to herself. Shocked, I drank it, only to fall into darkness shortly after. Pain followed. A man acted on top of me, whispering Tiffany. I felt like I was adrift at sea, lost and without a way back. When I came around, it wasn't just physical pain I had to deal with but also George's shocked and disgusted gaze. Chaos ensued, my sister's cries, my parents' anger. You shameless little hussy. You seduced your sister's boyfriend. They accused. Our family must be cursed. My parents lamented. Faced with it all, George said, we can't be together now. It's over. My sister's bitter voice rang out as George's resentment toward me deepened. And so it happened, I ended up pregnant with Mandy. By then, my sister was on the other side of the world, and George resigned himself to marrying me. As I watched George's defeated expression, a peculiar urge overcame me, to heal him. For that dream-like wish, I chose silence. I made a mistake, a huge one. Wasted years of youth paying for my wrongs. Hearing my story, George looked at me in disbelief. Impossible? Your sister wouldn't do that. You're lying. All excuses for what you did back then. I looked at the man before me, feeling only pity. Ignoring his breakdown, I walked away. After that day, George started showing up more often. Ignoring him, I busied myself with plans to go abroad. He showed up one day with Mandy, nervously inviting me to an amusement park. I remember your birthday wish, a family day at the amusement park. I missed it then, maybe we can do it now? His cautious hope was new to me. Seeing Mandy's eager eyes, I agreed. The amusement park was dreamy, but it no longer felt like my world. The fastest way to let go is to shatter illusions. I used to long for this when my parents took Tiffany but not me. Now that I was really there, I found it underwhelming. I was afraid of heights, making several rides impossible. The food was overpriced and tasteless. George, like a kid, enthusiastically suggested the roller coaster. Shaking my head, I turned to the carousel. Mandy caught on and insisted we ride together. I declined, riding solo on a white horse. Dizzy after the ride, I vowed never to return. The glittering amusement park mirrored my life, seemingly glamorous but a poor fit. At dinner, George and Mandy piled food onto my plate, but I declined it all. I thought I loved these things, but it was just to please them. Their hands awkwardly paused, and I enjoyed my own choices. I felt content. Tiffany appeared as we left. It had been a while. She was much thinner, and her shiny hair had become dry and yellow. She now looked like the student version of me. But I was now thriving, vibrant compared to her. She raged like a ghost from hell, accusing me, you shameless bitch. You seduced my husband. She lunged at me, but George held her back. People stared, and I walked away. Mandy was knocked to the ground and cried, I want Mom. I didn't look back. I received my visa and booked a flight for that evening. At security, I heard Mandy's cries for me. I still didn't look back. Life abroad was busy, filled with studies and socializing. When a blonde, blue-eyed guy showed interest, I realized I had a 5-year-old. I saw sights I'd never seen before, realizing life stretched far beyond my past. Love that wasn't meant to be, family ties that weren't there, these felt far away. I returned with qualifications and set up a psychology studio. When it was running smoothly, my parents showed up. They'd aged a lot. Lisa, come home for a meal. I went with them, only to retrieve my residence documents from George. Having what I needed, my mom pleaded, blocking my way. At least stay for dinner, your dad made it special for you. The table was covered with seafood, which I politely refused, never having liked it. Tiffany was always the one who did. My mom cried hard, Lisa, Tiffany's no good. She cheated us out of our savings. George left us too. Can you come back, take care of us? I smiled as I refused. You can sue for support, whatever the court decides, I'll pay. I don't look back, regardless of their protests. Love or lack thereof, it doesn't need an explanation. Downstairs, a blonde, blue-eyed girl waited for me. "Mom, are you okay?" I smiled and patted her head, saying I was fine. She was an orphan I adopted abroad, someone who comforted me when I was down, who worried about my meals. My daughter Mandy enthusiastically wanted to join her dad. I heard from them again when Mandy was 14. She came to my studio alone, a severe depression diagnosis in hand. With a professional smile, I asked how I could help. She recognized me, tearfully pleading, "Mom, that woman didn't just take from Grandpa and Grandma, she took all of Dad's money too. She sold his shop, leaving us with nothing. She ran off with an old man, Dad chased after and got hit by a car. Now he's paralyzed. I can't pay for school." I asked my grandparents, but they refused. Faced with her tearful eyes, I smiled apologetically. "Sweetheart, in that case, my services might not be what you need. My fees are quite high." Then my adopted daughter walked in, smiling warmly. "Mom, it's time for your meal, or your stomach will hurt." I smiled back and joined her. Mandy watched but said nothing. I didn't look back. I moved on, there was no reason to revisit the past.